this. It's also completely unnecessary. Ideology. Imagine a monkey walking around with the idea that he or she possesses certain truth. I mean, you have to lack a sense of humor to not see the absurdity of that. If you met a termite who told you he was on a quest for certain truth, a small smile would tug at your lips, I hope. Do you believe for a moment that we are different from that termite? I think not. I think not. We understand what we can understand. We build models. To do this without realizing the tentative nature of the enterprise is just damn foolishness. Here, my brother put it very well one time. He said, have you ever noticed that as we build the fire of understanding brighter, the greater the volume of darkness that is revealed? Or here, I'll put it for you in a geometric model. As the sphere of understanding expands, the surface area of ignorance necessarily grows ever larger. How could it be otherwise? Well, so then get a grip, you know. All of these things are candles lit against the darkness. But that's why I say the thing to keep coming back to is the felt presence of immediate experience. Not how do I feel as a feminist or a Marxist or a devotee of Hieronymus Bosch or whatever. How do I feel? Period. Not through the filter of ideology. As I look back through history, as you look back through history, very few ideologies last very long without going sour or becoming toxic. So why should we assume, as all those naive societies in the past assumed, that we are, have 95% of the truth and the other 5% will be delivered by our best people in the next 3 years? Fools have always believed that. But the smart money knows we ain't even close. You cannot today explain how I can think to myself, make a fist, and make a fist. What you're seeing is mind over matter. I say make a fist. I make a fist. This is the defeat of science, behaviorism, causal theory. It's defeated by something as simple as that. So get into the mysteries of the body, the felt presence of the moment. Somebody else here. Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
You advocate meditation really in organization. But you don't have as meditation giving up
Yes. I must say, usually my daily meditations are accompanied by cannabis, which I don't consider high-pressure psychedelic, but it certainly makes meditation more tolerable. But you raise an interesting question, which is, what is the preparation for the psychedelic experience? Meditation is a good one. Engagement with these problems is a good one. I mean, think about what you want to do. Have clarity of intent. The way I do psychedelics is quite infrequently at high doses on an empty stomach in silent darkness. And then, and I add this is how I do it, but everything up to there I've advocated, the final thing is alone. And that's a biggie for people. But to me, that's the sine qua non, because if you don't go alone, you know who you take with you? Everybody. Because the other person represents the cultural system, inevitably. I mean, I'm not saying you should never take psychedelics with people you love and respect, and children and loved ones and parents and all that. But the deep, deep work, Plotinus called it the flight of the alone to the alone. The deep, deep work has to be done alone. Because, dig it, the last dance you will dance alone. And I see this pretty much in Buddhist terms, in that I really believe at death, there is some kind of a landscape to be traversed, some kind of a process to be gone through, and that it is critical not to fuck up at that point. I mean, they all insist on this, right? Whatever it is. So the psychedelic seemed to me to show the way into the bardo. I once turned on to DMT, a very, very holy Tibetan man, not one of these Budweiser lamas, but the real McCoy. He didn't have a growth center or a patron, but he smoked the DMT and he came back and he said, those are the lesser lights. He said, you cannot go further than that and return. And I believe him. I absolutely believe him. I think they've seen the territory. So there is something about, and I made the analogy earlier to the collective birth. Be prepared. And these psychedelics are searchlights out into the great unknown. People who, people talk about recreational drugs and all that. I regret that I have to be involved with all of that. I take drugs very seriously. Not that I've never done a subdose and gone to a rave or something like that, but I didn't do it with the illusion that this was spiritual work. I did it to dance or to have fun with my friends. But the remarkable thing about the psychedelics is how safe they are at levels no human being can stand, I mean, we know the LD50 of psilocybin. It's hundreds of milligrams per kilogram. Nobody's ever taken more than 40 or 50 milligrams, because beyond that, the human cognitive machinery can't process the data. I mean, it is literally beyond languaging. I have a friend who every time he takes psilocybin, he says he tries to stand more. And I know exactly what he means. I've had conversations with that entity in there where you say to it, okay, the dancing mice, all this, it's very nice. We're feeling pretty comfortable here. Show me what you are for yourself. Show me what you really are. Well, immediately the temperature drops. Black draperies begin to lift, and there's an organ tone straight out of the Bach B minor Mass that shakes the room, and after about 30 seconds of this, you just say, enough already of what you really are for yourself, because you realize it will fulfill the request. It can lift a veil on vistas of reality that, like some hero in an H.P. Lovecraft tale, you will just be left gibbering for the rest of your life in a very small cell, because there are truths out there that the termite mind of man, I think, is not ready to handle. The reason this whole non-local thing works the way it does is because we resonate with what is familiar. In other words, the universe is full of things no human mind can cognize or apprehend. But because we cannot cognize or apprehend these things, we do not even notice them. They are, as it were, in the background. What's in the foreground is everything at least familiar enough that we can relate to it as strange. The problem is not to encounter the alien, but to have enough sense to know when it's looking at you. Because it ain't going to be like you think it is. That's the one thing you can take to the bank. Yeah, back there. Mm-hmm. Do I consider psychedelics a door or a window? Interesting question. I think that until recently they were a window. I think they can become a door. Here's my wrap on this. This whole business about the alien, and I could have spent the whole hour on a different tack and gone at it, but the alien is real in some sense, but